good afternoon, good evening, and good day. My clock on my computer screen was off by an hour. It wasn't off; it froze, and I didn't realize. So my whole day has started a little bit late. So all of the articles aren't loaded up, but that's okay. I've got them in the list. I got a couple sent over by, of course, Dan and some others, as well as Robert Griffin. So thank you very much for that. Cooking dinner. Hope it's something tasty. And good evening from Anders. Yes, click that like button, please. Thank you. So first on the list today, so we got to get the view situated. I didn't do that yet either. So let's do share, and we're going to share this article here. And then we're going to adjust my view. Commentator view. So this one we discussed on the Tesla Life this week, but Omar and I, we like to share with you guys all the police EVs, and we've got a new one with the University Police out of Central Washington University. And this is coming from our friends around the world at Drive Tesla Canada. So they have one Model Y replacing a Ford Explorer, and they've got a bunch of other EVs, but they don't specify the type or brand or anything. And Mark thinks they might be golf carts or electric bikes, but we don't know. I speculated that they don't have any speed to worry about because they uncapped. Oh, where'd my mouse go? There it is. They uncapped the aero wheels, and then they've got all the lights are external rather than stealth. So, but when you think about it, campuses are generally a little bit smaller, so that makes sense. You don't need the ultimate in fuel efficiency at highway speeds. So that's that. All right, moving on. This one came from one of my Facebook groups. Track mode is now available on the Plaids. So, well, I should say the Plaid Model S. I haven't seen for sure if it's coming to the Model X, and well, it's kind of a large vehicle to be pushing around a track. But I think if you bought the Plaid, they should give you that option. It's just I understand it won't perform the way that the lower slung sedan will, but why not? So that's fun. All right, let me move this over some. I can't see when you guys have commented. Cool cop. That's right. All right, so next up is, what was this? Okay, so this is another one we discussed on the Tesla Life, but it's a little FYI public announcement type piece. So also coming from Drive Tesla Canada, this is them, right? Yeah. The heat pumps on some Model 3s and Model Ys are not performing the way they should because of a recent firmware update, and Tesla is aware of it and looking into it. So their suggestions that you don't get caught out in the cold is to preheat your vehicle 30 minutes before you go where you want to go. They said 15 to 30, but if your heat pump is just barely running, you probably want to get it out there as early as possible. So what's probably going to happen is on the next software update, they will correct the firmware, and we'll see how that goes. If anyone out here has got a Model 3 or Model Y and is having this issue, how is it manifested for you? Let us know in the chat there. All right, so next up. Hertz has started receiving their Model Y orders. So if you're in the market for a rental car, or if you're an Uber driver or Lyft driver, well, I think it's just Uber. You can still use it for Lyft, but you have to be in the Uber network to be able to participate. You can now, at this point, expect that your local Hertz outlet will have the Model 3s available for you. Base Model 3 in white, and I think we're still in the period of the free supercharging, but that's coming to a close at the end of the month. Unless it came to the close at the end of the year last year, which is very few people got to use that if that's the case. We talked about last week about Elon and Tesla Bot with emotions and personality. And we talked about how Elon said that they will be doing UI changes following some input. Let's call it input. Very focal input. And what is this? Oh, that was a video I wanted to watch. There was a guy who hacked apart a matrix headlight from a Tesla. I'll drop a link for that in the chat so you can watch that later. There's no price information on Model S and Model X in Europe on Tesla's website. Oh. I wonder, does it have a timeline on it, Anders? And will they still take your money for reservation? I'm wondering if it's just so far out that they don't know how much it's going to cost when they start delivering it, or if this is an indication of something else. So I'm curious to know if they will at least let you put in a reservation for one, and when they say that you should be getting it. Because if it's over 8 months, I can see them not knowing what the price will be. But if it's for delivery in 4 months and they don't have a price, that's a little creepy. All right, so the link to that guy who hacked apart a matrix headlight is there, and I'll watch that later. Drive Tesla Canada saw that from their sources that China is getting the heated wiper zone like we have on the Model S and Model X with the cold weather package. Going back to cars with the cold weather package, it's just standard now, where you've got heated elements for like you have for your defroster on the rear window and in the mirrors. They have that where the wipers are parked, and it's coming soon to the Model 3 and the Model Y in China. And as we've seen, everything else on the Model 3 and Model Y in China, for the most part, ends up worldwide eventually. It's interesting that they test everything there at the moment, but I'm curious to see what in the future we'll be testing out of Texas and out of Berlin. It'll be interesting to see. So this came in handy for us during Snowmageddon. We had 2 snowstorms this week, and we had over 8 inches on the first day. And then on the second day, we were supposed to get over 3, but we got 2 inches. And while we were shoveling the snow on the first day, I just went ahead and kicked everything on. And so as the car heated up, the ice and snow starts to come off the top, and it wedges itself straight into where the wipers are. And so I scooped out a little bit with my hands. But because of the way that the front hood of the hood and the wipers are shaped in that little pocket there, it can collect a little bit of snow and ice, and so it was really nice for the car to just melt all that on its own as it came through. That way I could just hit the wipers and it was clean. Okay, so that's on the 2022 model years, and Tesla owners of MA has shared a picture of the heated wiper button in the HVAC controls for Model Y in China. Yep, that's what mine looks like. You'll enjoy it. If you have cold weather, obviously, like Eddie, obviously it doesn't snow there, so that'll be a little tough, wouldn't it? Okay, let's see. Coming up next. All right, so Patrick had an article on carsatcords.net, and apparently I just loaded up, so I don't remember which one I was going to discuss. But yeah, I don't remember which one it was, but carsatcords.net. Visit it sometime. And then while we were on What Drives Us, Paul brought up an article for how politics are determining the stove you use, is how it was titled. But what it is that a lot of places are starting to... No timeline. No timeline. But they still let you reserve one for $100 or so, right? Or dollars, pounds, euros, whatever the local currency is. I'm curious. I don't know necessarily that Shanghai is a guinea pig. I just wonder if they just have more space and flexibility than Fremont right now. So I'm curious if we start to see some things pop up around the world as they're ready. And if they do, then that makes sense. But if they only show up in China, then that might be the case. They might be the test market for everything. But some features and some software, it would make sense to test elsewhere because there are cultural differences. And like free speech and such. Not that you need free speech in your car, but just the way that China administers that is one example of a difference between them and the rest of the world. And okay, so yes, you can reserve for 1,000. Okay, so then they don't know when you're going to get it or how much it's going to cost. That could be a long wait, man. We remember that story about the what was it? It was an MMA or either way he was a fighter and his Model X wasn't ready, and he tweeted at Elon and they got him an old one. That's what that reminds me of. Okay, so the article was talking about how the laws are being placed to, depending on the politics of your area, to phase out natural gas appliances in new construction or to further entrench it. If you're in a place like Texas, they like them some fossil fuels. And my house in South Carolina is in a natural gas neighborhood, and so we have a on-demand water heater that's natural gas, but everything else in there is electric and solar. And thankfully, it's the same utility, so the solar is actually winding back the gas bill every year, every month, every billing period. And when I get to the next place, I'd rather not have any natural gas, because this townhouse that we're renting here, it's also natural gas, but everything is natural gas. The heater, so the heater is also natural gas in our house. The heater, the oven, the range, the water heater, and it's just super appealing when you have some chocolate chip cookies or anything out of the oven. It tastes like gas. It's like, oh, it's gross. So I'm all for it, just because of not just the CO2 at the point of consumption, but also we've seen time and time again that the people who produce our natural gas cannot be trusted to to keep that stuff in the bottle. They constantly are flaring it out. It leaks. They kill plants. They kill wildlife. They start fires. If they don't, I mean, if we had to bear the true cost of that, then people wouldn't use natural gas anyway, because it wouldn't be affordable. I do understand that it's really good at heating, but we have come so far in heat pumps and induction heating for the stove. When I say induction, I'm not talking the red eye garbage. That I understand you want ultimate control. You're not going to get that with the red eye, but you will get that with the induction. To the point where some of them even have like little blue LEDs to mimic the flame. And so you can still do it visually rather than having to remember, I want a 6 for this and I want a 2 for that. You can just, it's this much blue stuff. So it's just like cooking with flame. Still pollutes in a lesser amount. The bad part is the leaks at the well is quite potent. Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I am mostly opposed to, aside from cookies that taste like gas. Or whatever else I might make in the oven. That's just the one that always stands out. It's like, ooh, and it's like, ooh. Cybertruck I get, because for us, they also removed the price, and the expected date is probably sometime this year for some people, but we don't know. They also, when they did that, they removed the ability to customize it, so you couldn't pick the amount of motors, and then you couldn't check the FSD box. So that also told us that the price of FSD was about to change, which it is. I don't know if I loaded that in as an article. So FSD is going up to $12,000 at some point. Let me load up Elon's Twitter. Tornado warning in Clark County, Mississippi. Yikes. Be careful out there. Okay, so on January 17th, so in a week, just over a week, the price of FSD is going up to $12,000 according to Elon Musk, just in the U.S., and the price will rise as we get closer to FSD production code release. But we knew this already. They took a really long pause on these increases in price for FSD, but for a while it was just... and I guess maybe some folks got complacent with that, but I'm also curious what that does to the subscription price for FSD. Does it stay where it is, or does that go up as well? And if the price for the subscription goes up, do they leave you grandfathered in as long as you keep your subscription, or do they allow that to rise as well? And do you get any warning before it goes up, or does it just next month it's this much a month? I'm curious, and I'll be glad to share that with anybody. If you are on a subscription, keep an eye on that and let us know here. Assuming they honor the old price with FSD for Cybertruck, are you taking? Or is there both ways? But who knows whether they'll honor on Cybertruck. Yeah, I'm in line. I probably should have got two, but I got one, and I picked FSD because that's what I've got on the current car. And at the time, I had what was comparable to enhanced autopilot as far as actual features. And now that FSD beta is out and I'm in it, I'm glad I made the purchase, and I'm glad I didn't have to spend more than I did. And I really hope that they honor the price that they showed me, even if they don't honor the price for the truck. Because if you read the fine print, Trevor from Model 3 Owners Club, or from Tesla Owners Online now, he pointed out that they reserve the right to change the price. So if they honor the original price, that would be great. The question now is, if you want to change your motor configuration, can you still do that at the original price, or do they do like now with the paint colors? Oh, there's new paint, you gotta pay. Because I think that the quad motor Cybertruck sounds like fun. Tank turn and all that. Okay, so they didn't advertise tank turn, but the stuff that it can do with 4 motors versus the stuff it can do with 3 motors. I mean, a plaid Cybertruck would be fun, but what's beyond maximum plaid, huh? So let's see. Yeah, so he said it'll increase, and we knew that, and then for some reason they just paused for a year. Probably because it was really terrible, and the only people getting the increases were the beta. Both of mine are 2 motor. It'll be enough. I agree. It's just I picked the 3 because I wanted one that was equal to or better than my current vehicle in every way, except for having one less chair. And because I've been spoiled. I've been in unlocked loaner cars that were not to my spec, and you forget what you can't do when you're in the slower car. And the other part of it was I've been in some of the faster ones that have been unlocked. Very rarely do I get usually it's like locked in and it's in chill mode, and it's terrible. But I think that Raven I was in was unlocked, and it was a Raven performance, and it made my car feel like a chump. Not that I have any room to go fast in gridlock, but sometimes I use speed as a safety mechanism. Your review as well. Yeah, that's true. I can write off the difference. Yeah, that was for work. Business expense. All right, so let's see. Coming up. Oh yeah, so they launched more Starlinks, and they also launched something else. It's the launches. They're just back on it. And while we're here, this is a beautiful picture. Look at this. It is a solar roof, and it looks like it just shed its snow. And this is on Elon Musk's Twitter, but it's coming from Tesla Solar. Am I following them? Yep. That is a beautiful structure. Oh, and a Model X. I'm going to try to get the solar roof on our next place, but it'll definitely have solar no matter what, because during the first snowstorm, we lost power for 5 hours, and I was using the lawnmower batteries to power stuff with a little inverter, and Powerwall's the way to go. or our competitors, the Generac, the LG, the Enphase. I mean, just being there, not sitting in the dark in the middle of the sunlight is the way to go. All right, so yeah, there was another SpaceX 49 Starlink orbit. Yeah, so above that. All right, so let's continue on. All right, so we talked last week about the recall where the government basically said if your rear view camera goes out, go like this. Well, this camera's flipped, so go like that. the it's been extended to 200,000 cars in China for the Model S front latch, secondary latch, and for the rear view camera cabling on the Model 3. And as Paul said when we talked about it on What Drives Us, is everybody knows don't use solid core wiring on cars, on moving parts. You want to use stranded, because stuff like this, it's like a paper clip. You take it and you bend it and bend it, bend it. It's going to snap. And I'm curious why the engineers did that, or if somebody did a part substitution on them, like they'd ordered stranded and then got solid core. But that's that. So if you get an email or a letter in the mail, schedule a mobile service. They'll make sure that your front latch on your Model S has got two latches aligned correctly, and then for the Model 3, they'll look at your trunk cabling and make sure that your camera isn't susceptible to being cut off. And if it is cut off, they'll get you a new wiring bundle. Wiring harness, I should say. Alright, so this one was interesting. Just because we need more batteries. And so this company, Nidec, they're going to build a electric motor factory in Serbia. And they want to become a major EV motor supplier. Which would be good, because a lot of the traditional car makers around the world, they don't make anything but engines and bodies, and they might not want to make electric motors, so this will give them a chance to add another tier 1 supplier and give them more options for motors, especially if these are performant, and performant as in like they do what they're supposed to do. They have the reliability, and more options for these folks to get everything over to electric is a good thing. And then we've got an article from Tina Casey. You know what that means. I'm just going to paste it in here so you can read it later, because she writes long. But she writes that the Army, Navy, and Navy are lending muscle to Pescovite solar cells. So they're doing R&D on a new type of solar cell manufacturing material and technique. And this is good, because we see the solar deployments around the world are going like gangbusters and only accelerating because they're so cheap to operate. I mean, once you put them down, they're making you money. So as long as you keep the sun on them, keep the dust off of them, and you didn't spend too much in the first place, you're making money back on it within a matter of months. So I like that. Oh, that's right. Eddie saw a Rivian in the wild at the charging lot over at the Crenshaw lot. All right, let's close this one. So the next thing that came up was Mercedes announced an EV with a really long range, which was good to hear, because previous Mercedes have not been very long range, except for the EQS was finally a step in the right direction, but it's $150,000. And if you go to a dealer, it's $250,000, as we saw last week, which was just a shame. We've got some more news on that with Ford as well. I don't know if I have it in the list, so somebody remind me to talk about Ford at the end of the show if we don't talk about them first. So this is the Vision EQXX concept, and so it's got a really low coefficient of drag of 0.17. And they say it can go over 1,000 kilometers on one charge. The way it looks, I would believe that, especially if they're using the European cycle for doing this measurement, because the European cycle lends itself to getting big numbers like that. But still, even if they only get a portion of that, say they put it on the US cycle and it gets in the high 500s, and then somebody drives it like they normally would and they get over 400 miles of charge. That is exactly what all these people are saying they can't switch to electric, because it doesn't go 400 miles. Yeah, there you go. And not only that, but the Model S already does 400 miles if you get the base model. So Model S, the Lucid, most of the trucks that are coming out, except for the Rivian, will do over 400. And now you've got a sedan, another sedan, I should say, the Mercedes EQXX soon. What were some other specs that came up in this thing? It looks nice if you're into Mercedes. And the other thing that came up that a lot of people focused on rather than what it could do was everybody was talking about how it had a 40 plus 50-inch plus screen. I mean, it looks cool, but hopefully they did a better job of the screens than they did on the EQS, because everyone I talked to that was into tech and not just into cars talked about how laggy and slow it was. But they did mention that it's running on a game engine, and that sounds like they would have made sure to put a 3D card in there to be able to run a game engine to run the interface. So hopefully they did it right. Interviews, why it's good, people working on it. Okay, so this is the battery lab, and so the materials are the leather is made from mushrooms. Basically, it's mycelial, which I thought was pretty cool. And I mean, because the feel of a leather seat is generally nice. For our couch, I went ahead and switched back to cloth, because every time we got a leather, real or fake leather, it would delaminate or whatever, and so I just went back to cloth, put a little Scotch Guard on there or something similar, and you're good. Let's see here. COD is huge. Looks good as long as the back seat is kids. Yeah, because the way that roof slopes, you have to be really short to get under there. Yeah, so that was really cool to see they're using a sustainable seating, because so far, other than a handful of instances and Tesla, you see everybody using bovine leather, and it's, well, not just bovine. You've got the luxury makers using other animals' hides as well, and right. I mean, if they're done right, not the natural ones, but the artificial ones, like in my car, it's not too bad in the wintertime. And in the summertime, it's got ventilation, and that's nice too. But when you stick to them, or when you get in and it's cold, I've always been a fan of cloth seats. They just haven't. The way that the manufacturers have done is, if you have a cloth seat, then you don't have any of the other options you want, typically, unless they only offer a cloth seat on that model. Yep. So it's made from fungus. Oh, and then the solar panels on the roof will power the 12-volt system to further extend the range if you happen to be driving in sunlight and using accessories, which probably power steering, the fan, the dashboard, definitely the dashboard. And so single-digit kilowatt hours per 100 miles, so 6 miles per kilowatt hour. That's not bad. So I do mine in watt hours per mile. So I would have to. Now I see why Tesla hates. People hate that Tesla does this, because everybody else uses one of these two. They use kilowatt hours per 100 or whole miles per kilowatt hour, and Tesla does miles, watt hours per mile, which means you got to do more math to get their number. That's still really good. 6 miles per 1 kilowatt hour. Well, what is the single digit kilowatt hour per 100?
Consumption, which
they don't say. Equivalent of 235 miles per gallon, so 235 mpge on the European cycle. That's not bad. Not bad at all, especially when you consider that my daily driver is, what, 87? 87 versus 235. I think that's a good move. That's a good move. So let's close this out. And while we're talking about traditional automakers getting into the EV game a little more seriously, have you guys heard about Chrysler? They're going down to 2 models, but they're going all electric. And those 2 models are the Pacifica and what is this? The Airflow Concept SUV. So, I mean, it's pretty. It's a step in the right direction. So by 2028, they're going to be all electric, and two cars that they've shown us. They're not going to be a 2-car brand. There's no way. So that's just what they've committed to. Well, they could be a 2-car brand if they're going out of business. That's for sure. So that's coming from Stellantis. I mean, it looks nice. It looks like a Chrysler. It's got a lot of breathing holes. It doesn't need half of them. So hopefully they're fake and just for style. I mean, that's not unattractive. I think I double negative that wrong. It doesn't look bad. I could drive that. Let's take a look at some pictures. Oh, your arrow key doesn't work on this? What about spacebar? Yeah, spacebar. I'm questioning that placement of the charge port. That's where my Volt had it, and it does make sure that you don't forget to unplug it, but if you try to drive and you're plugged in, it doesn't drive anyway. So, I don't know. I'm hoping that more manufacturers standardize to a point where they could use the Supercharger network once that becomes open. As well as the other one I like is when they're kind of front center or rear center, because you can easily get that to work. But in front of the driver's door is not terrible. That looks useless. Why do I need jewelry in my car? It's pretty. Also, why do you need a start-stop button in an electric car? Just get in and go. Come on, guys. Alright, it's got a little tailgate mode. Oh, it's a stadium, a futuristic stadium. Look at that. So now the next question is, since this is a concept, how much of this will actually make it into the real car? I think this feature will make it, but that looks too pretty, the back of those rear seats. Unless they're going to move this thing way upscale from where they operate today. Because they are downright affordable sometimes. They can get unaffordable, but they start affordable. It's an interesting look on the grill. That looks like that's something that will look nice for the first couple of years, and then once they're out of warranty, you'll see people with half a lighted grill. Now that interior looks comfortable. I don't know if those headrests will make it. Those tablets won't be on the base model, you know it. The interior lighting accents won't make it on the base model, probably. That's a comfortable looking dashboard too. I dig it. It's got a yoke? No, this doesn't have a yoke. They just faded it out so you can see the dashboard. But if they had a yoke, you could see the dashboard. Yeah, it's got an oval shaped wheel. I'm used to seeing a flat bottom or a flat top, but oval shaped. And I like how clean it looks. It doesn't have a whole lot of extra buttons and switches, so everybody's getting into this minimalism concept, other than that jewelry thing. Hopefully, they didn't make the mistake of BMW and Lexus and force you to use the jewelry thing for anything other than it appears to be a start-stop button. Because if you can just touch the touchscreen, that's a nice place to handle charging. Just get the phones out of the view, get them down, get them charged up. I'm noticing a lot of these pictures have the signature of the concept artist on them, so I'm wondering if they even have an interior on this concept. The wheel looks like the Austin Allegro steering wheel. It does. It does. Good catch. All right, and Dan says hi. Hi, Dan. Jump on, Dan. It's actually a little bold if they stick to it. I hope they're well done EVs. I agree. All right, so we talked about Chrysler and their EVs. Now, oh, okay. So Citroen is part of the Stellantis now as well. So Citroen, they showed off their concept as the C4 EV. It looks like the same thing, but with less fanciness to it. Less fanciness, but that's all right. Like I keep saying, we need safe, affordable EVs. as well, because now that we've got the luxury market covered, we've finally got some trucks coming in. We've had SUVs for a minute. Now we need some affordable SUVs and affordable cars, and then we can then work on having less cars overall as the next step. So that's not bad looking for Citroen. And there we go. All right, so now that we're done talking about Stellantis, Chrysler, let's talk about our friends over at Sony. So they said they weren't making an electric car. We made a concept, blah, blah, blah. Then they formed an EV company. And then they... oh, wait, I got the articles out of order. Stand by. Share. Alright, so I did it again. So I now got 2 copies of the same article. Share. There we go. So they formed an EV company, and it's called Sony Mobility Inc. It's opening in the spring, and they're going to tap into and explore the electric vehicle market. So they had the Vision S concept a couple years ago, and now when they brought the Vision S out again, and it didn't say concept, it said Vision S prototype. We saw them do testing all over the world, and then we saw what appeared to be open world engineering tests, and so that was pretty cool to see. And then on next to the Vision S prototype, we saw the one that was in that picture, the the Vision S2, and that one was also labeled prototype. This one is a crossover SUV based on the Vision S concept, and it looks almost as good as the. For some reason, when you take a sedan and just puff it up into a CUV or an SUV, it doesn't always look as attractive as the sedan, and I would say the same about this. For an SUV, it's attractive, but it's less attractive than the car. And to look at, I would probably pick it over the car, for family, because it's a lot easier to shove people and stuff into a square than a pretty car. And as we can see, that they kept a lot of the Sony electronics and other integrations, because when they did the Vision S sedan, the Vision S01, we thought that they were trying to become a tier 1 supplier to other OEMs rather than for sure get into it for themselves, especially since they had Magna build the first ones for them rather than do it themselves. But then we saw them open up factories, and well, not really factories, but like assembly facilities, like testing out, getting it done. There's the sedan. Omar said he just left a grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony for a new Supercharger. That's cool. Yeah, so there's the Vision S concept, the original one with the camera mirrors and all that. I was a fan of that car, and I was really glad to hear that they're going to make it, because it would have been a waste to not make this car. Sony envies Tesla's stock run-up. His ex at Sony say, how hard can a manufacturer be? Oh, they will find out. But so the thing I'm thinking then is, if Sony does this and they succeed, will we then finally see the Apple car? Or is Project Titan just an EV taxi? Because if it's an EV taxi, then it doesn't really matter what it looks like. It just needs to, charge your iPhone and recognize you when you walk up to it, and then take you there safely. But if it's a car, I'm curious to see what their idea of a car is. And Sony and Apple, they have quite a rivalry going on everything, except Apple doesn't make any digital cameras for some reason. I mean, they have the phones, but they don't do like SLRs or camcorders or any of that. They do a bunch of the rest of it. So while we're talking about people getting into EVs, let's continue on. Chevrolet made a couple of announcements, or I should say GM, really. Chevrolet. This is a Chevrolet brand. So we've got the Silverado EV, which starts at $39,900. So, as we said, an affordable EV truck. There it is. Now the question is, will you be able to buy it for $39,900 with their dealers? Maybe. Maybe. I'm curious what this is. I didn't actually have time to watch this one, so let's explore this together. 2023 late. So they've been working on this for a minute. The RST First Edition and a fleet-oriented work truck. So that 39 is probably the work truck. Both models will get more than 400 miles of range on full charge, but it's got to be certified for EPA. I think that we'll see that happen if they're not towing. The work truck will be $39,900. Well, the fully loaded RST will be first off the assembly line. Will be $105,000. Come on, GM. Can you make a truck for less than $100,000, please? The base Hummer EV is $110,000. And yes, I know 39, but when will we see that? And how much will it actually cost? Because 105, 39. That's some nice profit. Mary Led, baby. Mary Led. Chevy says after production ramps up, various versions of the truck will be available for 50 to 80. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there. So they want to make their money while they can. That makes sense. 50, I think that would be probably one with more of the options, but not all of them. And then 80 will probably be the one they sell or expect to sell the most of. And then the work truck. If the work truck doesn't have too many punishments, like a vinyl floor and a rubber chair, I think they'll probably do a lot more of that than one would expect. But I can see why they put it at the back. If it's got a 400-mile battery, then they're going to be probably losing money on batteries if they were to sell it right away. Yeah, so remind me later in the show to get about Ford. And we got some stuff on them. Will they make more than 25 of them in a quarter? I've got that coming up as well. So they're going to have to, because if Mary's talk becomes reality, they can't stay in business on 25 cars a month. A quarter, sorry. So yeah, 100 cars a year is not going to keep that organization solvent. So they're going to have to do better. Or she's lying. I don't like to call people liars, so I'm assuming that she sees a way to make this happen. So let's see, 0 to 60 in less than 4.5 seconds. That's good. Okay, why were you comparing Tesla in the Chevy article? This is it's not a fight. All right, the RST sounds like it could easily knock the wind out of you at 485 kilowatts. That's not bad. 780 foot-pounds of torque. Four-wheel steering. So it looks like they're just taking the Hummer and shrinking it and making it more affordable. Adaptive air suspension, but only 2 inches. Whereas the Hummer, I think, was what, 5, 8, 9. The mid-gate flex. That's good. That was very popular on the Avalanche. Available Multiflex Tailgate with power release. Okay. 17-inch infotainment center. That sounds familiar. Paired with a neighboring 11-inch diagonal reconfigurable driver display. Also sounds familiar. And a multicolor driver heads-up display. I'm a fan of heads-up displays. The General Motors one is really kind of crummy, but it's better than none. And it's been getting better every year. I'll say that. Trailering capable Supercruise. See, that's something I've always complained about with mine, is that when I am trailering, I don't get auto steer at all. And there's no good reason for that. You should be able to push a button and say, yes, my load is a standard load and it's properly loaded, and then it's on you and the car will stay in the lines. I understand not changing lanes. I understand not steering, not cornering, but staying in the lane should be part of it. They do have cruise control, which I like, but if you can do cruise control, it's one more step to keep it in the lane. And then if I click the button that says that my load is not a standard load, then don't do it. I get it. Alright, so 200,000 miles of compatible roads across the US. So this one is still Supercruise with the pre-mapping. They have another version of Supercruise coming without the pre-mapping. Reacts to truck article. This is that total format. All right, so the work truck. I mean, come on. Do you got to put the Steelies on it? I mean, at 40 grand, it can have some nice looking stamp steel wheels. Like Honda has done this for ages, where they just have a little bit of pattern to it. The only reason this would make sense is if you're afraid of somebody stealing the steel wheels, or if the designs can't handle the weight of towing that the base model can do, which I doubt. Make them look a little pretty. Like, I understand you want people to spend more money, but if they all look good, then they all are representative of your brand. They're all out there being ambassadors. But if it looks like, oh, he bought the Jeep one, then it doesn't put your best foot forward. It's still got your bow tie on the back, unless they take it off. Cover it up. Both versions can do DC fast charging of 350 kilowatts. That's good. 100 miles every 10 minutes of charging. That's good. Oh, I can fill up gas so much faster, even though I spend over 100 minutes a year filling up gas. Most owners likely do 150. Yeah, because there are not large deployments of 350 kilowatt chargers out there. It bests the F-150 Lightning when it comes to onboard power, putting out an incredible 10.2 kilowatts for all sorts of charging needs. Okay, so I knew there was a reason they were hanging back with this truck, and they wanted to see what the competition would do first before they said what they could do, including powering an entire home or charging another electric vehicle. Okay, yeah, 10.2 kilowatts is substantial. I think my car can take 10 or 11 kilowatts over AC, so that's good. So that would actually definitely power the whole house rather than just most of it, like the Ford. The base F-150 Lightning can put out 2.4 kilowatts, and the Lariat and Platinum can do 9.6 kilowatts. Okay, so they actually improved that. That's not bad. So hard for folks to understand the ease of home charging versus the occasional long charges. Exactly. I mean, I do a lot of trips, and I spend maybe 3 hours a year on charging, and I spend no time during the week dealing with it. I just pop it in and keep on about my business. Whereas every week they have to decide when they're gonna go out of their way to turn that gas light off, and then they gotta wait in line. If they want to go cheap like Costco or BJ's or Walmart or whatever, they gotta wait in line. That's 20 minutes right there. And if I do choose to go to Supercharger instead of charging at home, 20 minutes or less, I'm done. For around town. If I'm on the road, it could be easily 30 minutes because I've got an older, slower car. Multiflex Tailgate. Yeah, what does this mean? I'm assuming it's one of the ones with tricks in it. On its own, the bed is 5'11". That's not bad. Could be better. That can extend to 9 feet when opening the midgate. I love the idea of a midgate. I really hope Cybertruck has that. And then 10 feet 10 inches when the Multiflex is open as well. That is pretty cool. So over 9 if you want to keep the tailgate up, and 10. Okay, I do like this feature here. I've seen this on a couple other trucks where the inside of the tailgate can open up and have a little backstop for your longer items. And what other flexes does it do? Yes, there's a frunk. But while Ford had lots of fun with the branding of its mega power frunk, Chevy opted for the more perfunctory E-trunk. Why does everybody got to call it something different? Come on, Chevy. Just call it a frunk. Or a front trunk. Sounds something like Peckoderm would be pecking. Anything in your plug-in vehicle. Okay, so do you got a picture of the E-trunk? E-trunk? Show me. Okay, that's a little bit smaller than the one on the Ford, but it's still nice. These are the guys where I had the space bar. So there's their home connector. It's a lot smaller than the Ford one, which is good. The Ford one just seems unnecessarily large. We're not all homeowners with kennel trucks. I understand, and we need to do better with that. And I do applaud the states like California that are making sure that multifamily dwellings have appropriate charging. like was it in California? They are saying that that you have to have conduit in the apartments. You have to have conduit in the houses, be ready to go. And other states are making it so that the HOAs can't fight you when you want to put a charging station in your assigned parking space. So one way they could get around that is to remove assigned parking, but houses without assigned parking have less value to them in the price market, and so I don't see them willing to give up however many thousands of dollars of sale price for just so they don't have to put in $200 chargers. Or allow people to put in their own $200 chargers, I should say. But I can see some HOAs being just that bad. Do you think Tesla will pivot and allow vehicle to home with Cyber and new models? Yes. The Cybertruck already can put out 50 amps out of the 1450 that's in the bed, and I think it would be smart of them to allow this to do it automatically through the charge port with the appropriate home connector, because they'll be the only ones that don't at this point. Them and Rivian, but Rivian will probably they either already have it in there and it's just waiting on a firmware update, or Rivian will put it in there too, because you don't want to be the odd one out. Yeah. All right, so that frunk is nice. It's not as nice as the Ford frunk. I like the Ford frunk a lot better than this. I don't even see any outlets in here. Doesn't mean there aren't. And on the Ford, you get the false floor with the drain. All right, you got CCS charging. That's good, but you'd have to get the 350. Wow, that hauling a load of solar panels. That just goes to show you right there. All right, so they've got the mid gate down or up. I can't tell, and then they've got the flex gate down as a step. That's a very powerful picture. And then I do like that they've got the all glass roof. I don't understand this obsession with shark fins. You don't need them. They're cheaper, I understand, but you don't need them. Do better engineering. All right, the interior. I like the interior. That looks familiar. That looks very familiar. For those who aren't aware, this is the same style gear shift that I have in my car. It's a little bit stretched, but all right. The back seat is serviceable. Looks like they got charging and seat heating controls. It just looks down market from the Ford to me, and definitely from the Cybertruck. A lot more knobs and switches, like we saw that the Mercedes and the Chrysler did not. That doesn't look bad. They've got that knob thing going on like the Ford. Why do you have a knob in your glass? Of course, in Ford's case, it's a stick-on knob. It's interesting they've got this panel here. I'm wondering if it shares sheet metal with the gas version, or if that's something they could switch out for the GMC as well. Because it's just weird that that's just a plastic panel sitting out there, unless it folds down or something. They don't have a lot of pictures. Ford had a ton of pictures on the first day. Yeah, so more options is good, because competition means that everybody else will be forced to keep their prices in line, and if the vehicles are comparable, then that allows you to cross shop and not have the situation we're having where the prices are sky high, the supply is unavailable, etc. I feel one reason they waited was to see what the competition decides to do. I hope Cybertruck has a frunk has a lip for lifting in items like Ford's design. I agree. I hope that they are more like Ford than current Teslas, and more like Ford than that we saw on the Chevy there, because we know that's why Tesla held back, because they weren't sure what they were doing. But I agree, that's definitely why Chevy held back, waited for everybody to show their hands before they said, hey, here's what we got. But their leaks could have been a little bit better than just the logo and, hey, we're doing one. First they said, hey, we're doing one, then we got a logo, and now we finally see it. But while we're talking about Chevy, let's take a look at something a little further. And even more affordable. How about $30,000? That is right where they need to be. I mean, yes, you can still come down, but at the same time, the average selling price of an automobile in the U.S. is $35,000, $36,000. So you got it. You got it. So this is the Equinox EV, and it's an affordable crossover, as I said we need to do. Let's take a look at this. All right, it's coming in the fall of 23 with that truck, the Silverado. So that's the starting price. What are they going to do? Are they going to do a first edition of this guy too? It looks good. All right, this one's arrows. I like that interior. I don't know why it looks better on the SUV than on the truck. Maybe just because everything's a little bit smaller. It's the same exact interior, but the things feel smaller. They're not as chunky. All right, so we see the Supercruise. If you're paying attention to the Supercruise screen, if you're not, it starts flashing at you. So it's basically the same interior. That's one thing that that I do like about them is they have this consistency. So if you get in one, you get in all of them. I'm not saying that Tesla needs to switch to that because it's kind of nice that they have some variety. All right, how do I get out of this thing? There we go. Let's see what they have to say for themselves. The RS is shown in red. The instrument cluster indicates 235 miles. Not bad. At 3/4 of charge. That means, yeah. Total range is probably over 300. Hopefully they make their own batteries, or they make sure that LG doesn't screw it up again. The Bolt EV and the Bolt EV are both over 30,000, so that's a good point they make. How are they going to make it cheaper when they already did a really good job of lowering the price on the existing Bolts? The Bolt EV is 31, and the EV is 33. So one way I would suggest they can do it is volume. So you could tell they weren't planning to make too many Bolts, but if this is the Equinox and they make them in Equinox numbers, then they might just make it from volume savings. Why do so many cars have that similar SUV look? That is, they've marketed that shape to us, and so now that's what everybody wants. They've done it to themselves. It was a self-fulfilling situation they got themselves into there. Yeah, I don't see. They had another delay on the Bolt we talked about last week, so I don't know if it can come back. And then if it does come back, is it going to be marked like the Pinto and the Suzuki Samurai and all the other cars that had an unnecessary hit piece against them? Some of them were close to deserving it, but most of the ones I've seen, when you look back and determine what really happened, like the Audi 5000 and the pedals being too close together, like their pedals weren't out of whack by any means, but that got us unintended acceleration for decades to come. Alright, so it will follow a few recently announced models, the Silverado EV and the Blazer EV. We haven't even talked about the Blazer EV. I haven't seen any pictures of it either. My dad drives a Blazer. Yep. So yeah, GM took their time, but it looks like they were still working, and that's good. Yep. All right, let's go on to the next one. So yep, that's why. All right, so next up, Dan brought this article to us that Nikola has dropped their $2 billion patent infringement on Tesla's Semi. And then, as we saw last week, they actually have a product. And not only did it doesn't just roll downhill, it's an electric truck, and they sold a couple of them. So that was pretty cool. And so their argument was that Tesla copied their design, and Tesla snapped back. And I'm guessing that whether they think they're right or not, I think this is a money-saving move on their part. It kind of has to be. So then our friend Georgia tagged me in this video from our friend Kyle Connor over at Out of Spec Motors, Out of Spec Studios. This is a BMW iX, and it's got e-ink paint. And so what that does is allows it to change color. I don't understand the utility of it, but it is cool. And then all of the examples that everybody brought up were criminals. Hey, we're looking for a black BMW. We've got this gray BMW or this white BMW. I didn't check. Are the wheels changing colors too? The back wheel appears to be. The front wheel is not. No, it's got two different color wheels on it. It's got a white up front and black in the back. Why? And why don't the wheels change? Come on, when you made them match the two colors of the car, you missed an obvious opportunity. And of course, it's got the beaver teeth grill instead of the kidney grill. Okay, that's just more tweets. So let's go into their tweet and see if anybody said anything. Yep, see, bank robbery. Easy to identify. Only BMW has color-changing vehicles. Just make a good car first. How much does the option cost and why? I don't know that they're even going to release it. It looks like something in the concept space. I agree. That'd be awesome. Bond movie changing color for the bad guy. Like a Rorschach test. I've seen videos of this where the wheel changes color. Okay, so maybe the wheels were just stuck for his demo, or maybe they don't change when the doors are open. I don't know. All right, so let's move on to something more substantive. Okay, so yeah, this one's an article about it and how it works. I don't expect to see this at your BMW dealership anytime soon. The automaker says this is just an advanced research and design project. It's probably, you got to get wiring and data to every body panel. It's got to be a pain for getting your body shop network involved. Well, at the same time, if you got sensors on every panel, it's probably not that big of a stretch. My favorite topic for a while, the Boring Company, their loop was featured prominently at CES because it was the transportation between the halls. They've increased it to 70 vehicles, so they're able to now have more passengers per hour because they have 70 cars instead of, I think when we started they were at 25, and then they went up to somewhere near 50, and now they've got 70. That's the max for 3 stops. So they're gonna have more than 70 cars as they add more stops, because what's stopping them is whatever their minimum distance between the cars are and the places to park them. But once you add 1 or 2 more stops, you now have more room in the tunnels and more places to park them at the end. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect for CES. And then immediately people started saying, why not a train? Why not a subway? Blah, blah, blah. Yes, we know trains work, but trains can't skip stops. And if your train is on an express route and the guy, there's another train in front of you, you can't go through the other train. You have to wait for them to load and unload. And I don't understand this fear of trying something new no, it's not using any of your tax money. It's not using any of your personal money. You don't have to ride it. The reactions, just the visceral hatred. I cannot understand it. The other thing is, if this fails and a train is so much better, you've already got the tunnel built. So now you just need a small train that can fit in there. But it's obviously working. So go for a ride. Try it out. Exactly. Trains, they're huge capital. They're never on time as far as the construction. and the cars, they can use off-lease Model 3s and Model Ys as they come off lease. They can just pop them in the tunnel. Well, when they add more tunnels. This is true. I mean, but just because something is scary doesn't mean don't try it. I just don't understand why it hurts to try something new. Unless you're a train conductor, but metros have been driverless for quite a while for a great many cities. And if you're a tunnel maker, well, you can dig this tunnel. It's just smaller and faster. Yeah, so. Okay, yeah, the math doesn't work. I don't know what they were getting at there. So, if you have or know anybody with a classic Model S, you might have known somebody who also got a MCU2 upgrade. Well, now that concept is coming to the Model 3 and Model Y, maybe. Now that Fremont is installing the Ryzen processor in some of their vehicles and the lithium battery, the speculation has come that perhaps you'll be able to order a retrofit kit like the folks with the original Model S can do to bring your car's compute up to the modern standard. Not that there's anything wrong with your current car, but as we saw last week when we compared when one of the folks in China showed us the MCU2 versus MCU3 doing everything, it was substantially different. It was the same as our MCU2s made the MCU1s look, just ancient garbage. And I'm hoping that if you guys get the upgrade, that I can also get the upgrade in my car, because that speed was nice. Because the other day I had to open up YouTube while I was waiting for my wife to do something, and I plugged into a Volta charger, and I opened up YouTube, and it took, I want to say, like nearly 30 seconds for YouTube to open up and be ready. And then it had that bug where I couldn't click on anything, so then I had to close it, wait for it to close, and then I had to open it again, and then wait for it to be ready. And so that was over a minute. Just my phone would have been able to do it in seconds. And one other thing that got me this morning, it's been raining this morning, the auto wipers, they still work. And they've gotten better with beta 10.8, but they don't turn on the headlights anymore. The headlights were just off. So I manually turned on the headlights, and then as I'm getting out to plug in the car, it's still beeping. And I'm like, why is it beeping? I look at the screen says, you've manually turned on the headlights, this will increase your power consumption. Of course. So not only does it not automatically turn on the headlights, I understand why I didn't turn them off, but now it's created a situation where I could kill my 12-volt battery. So I will write up a bug report on that again. I did it the first time I noticed it, but I'll write them another one saying, hey, it's still there. I know for a fact that my car on production would handle the wipers and headlights together, because in most places I drive, wipers on, headlights on is the law. And my Model S had no problem with it, and this exact car had no problem with it until sometime within the last 12 months. RG Salty. Oh, 5G. Yeah, so that's another thing that we may see. But the 5G should be available on every Tesla, because Tesla has made the communications module as a daughter board, so you can actually upgrade. If you have a 3G car with MCU1, you can upgrade it to LTE and stay on MCU1. If you have a MCU2 car, you can switch that out whenever they make the board for 5G. Same for the third board. Dan, it's not exactly a first world EV problem, because the lights are buried in a menu, and it's the law that if the wipers are on, your headlights need to be on. So if they've turned on my wipers, they also need to turn on my headlights. And if somebody isn't listening for the beeping, say they've been distracted by a screaming child, now they might have a chance that their 12 volt is dead if they just park the car and don't plug in and they're low on charge. It's not a good thing. Crossing fingers for 2018 Model 3. Rough cost guess. Robert Griffin was showing some last week for £23,000 in his area, and I've seen them occasionally get down to reasonable prices here, but typically they're still more than they were new sometimes. Yeah. But I enjoy the 2018 Model 3. I've got a fat version right in my driveway with the wrong screens. It's legacy. But the 2018 Model 3 Tesla does not consider to be legacy. It just doesn't have an exterior speaker and only has one motor, unless you went for the performance model. Let's see. Well, no, I think towards the very end of the year they had the dual motor long range in 2018 available. Let's see. So basically, this will, if they do this, it'll work the same way as it does today. You'll go into the app and they'll say, "What do you want?" And you say, "I want to upgrade my MCU." And when the parts are available, you'll be able to order it, give them money, and then they'll send a mobile tech or bring you into the service center to get it done. And it'll take an uncomfortably long amount of time to roll it out because that's just the way Tesla does. Unless it's a software update, they don't just give it to everybody at once. All right, so Sawyer says, news. Parts of Giga Texas now have fire marshal compliance certificates as production grows imminent. So we'll see, Patrick and Mark, who gets their factory open first. And the stunk takes. Of course. That's, I don't know if that's a funny joke or not. So next up, we've got some Ford stuff, but not the Ford article I was telling you about. So Jim Farley, CEO of Ford, says, in September, due to huge demand for the F-150 Lightning, we have doubled our production plan from 40,000 units to 80,000 units per year, which is nothing compared to the fossil F-150. But it's a step in the right direction, because double is 2x. The demand keeps growing, so we're doubling it again, and now plan to produce 150,000 annually. That's much better. Much better. Okay, so that's a great step in the right direction. 2 of them. And then we've got another one coming up later in the show. America wants the all-electric F-150, and we plan to deliver. You better. Oh, Prelude. Casey says, can you do something about dealer markups? Yeah, I agree with this one. You can get them to stop with the protections and laws. This is the article I was ranting about last week, where, Coons Ford, right down the street. This is where they said this was an error that they sent this out. But when you read it, they knew what they were writing. The error was that they got caught. And we'll talk about this later in the show. I'm getting wound up again. Let me close this. All right, so this next one is from Robert Griffith. He has an article on Tesco and their electric trucks. Or he shared with us. Obviously, he didn't write this article. But Tesco introduces HGVs at the Bagger Distribution Center. And that's good. Because when you look at where our transportation fuel consumption goes, trucks, shipping, and airplanes are a major part of it, not just personal cars. So we can't just blame this all on individual consumers. This is not like they did when they introduced recycling to us, and they blamed it all on us. Hey, it's your fault that the cans are everywhere. Well, give us incentive to bring them back. And I'm not saying I disagree with recycling. I love recycling, but the way that it's been done is to shame us, even though the manufacturer has equal parts in this. Come on, Austin. I need you to, for my insane production estimates in Tesla 2022. Yes, they do. Yours was the 2.2 million, right? They can do it. The question is, will they do it next year? our friends at Drive Tesla Canada, all over the world again, have seen that the manual for the Model 3 and Model Y now have references to ventilated seats. Yes, that issue with 2.2. Watch you win, too. That'd be fun. So, folks have speculated this mention of ventilated seats in the Model Y and Model 3 could be an error. It can, but typically what Tesla does is if the model of car isn't ever going to have the option, they tag it out in the code, so the car doesn't even mention it. So like my car doesn't mention remote sentry viewing, even though it has no reason it can't do it, other than because of being mean. So it might not happen anytime soon, but we may see Model 3s and Model Ys with the ventilated seats, and I enjoy them. Speaking of tagged out and mentioned and etc., they did mention a while ago on some cars, they mentioned Vision Auto Park. Well, I finally got Vision Auto Park in my car on FSD Beta 10.8, and I took a video of it. It's no longer here in the GoPro, and my microphone was acting up, so hopefully the GoPro audio was good enough for the demo. We'll see in a few minutes when I get to editing the video. But it parked in the lines. It didn't use any other cars, and it really didn't like the salt on the camera, so I had to go out and clean it before it would actually complete one. And I'll be trying that out over the next couple weeks, and hopefully we'll see Smart Auto Park arrive soon, where we can see what a lot of folks call reverse summon, where you get out of the car and it'll summon backwards. Not in reverse, but like it'll go find a spot and park. So that's why I do like the clarity that Elon doesn't call it reverse summon, because my Model S AP1 could reverse for summon. Yeah, so this is exciting. I do like my Gen 2 ventilated seats. They had Gen 1s and they were terrible apparently, so they took them out. Then they had Gen 2 and then they went away because they were trying to streamline production. Then they came back for Gen 3, which was still a Gen 2. They went away again, and now they're back on the Model S and Model X refresh. And so I guess those will be Gen 3 or 4. And I haven't heard anything bad about them, but they came out in the middle of the cold season, so we'll find out this summer if folks really enjoy the new one. Would I go to the Giga Texas opening? Depends on when it is. I've got some life events coming up at the end of April, and also depends on what the travel situation is looking like for us. But if invited, I will make a concerted effort to get there, because that's going to be exciting. And if any of you guys get invited and you get a +1, hey, holla at your boy. Because I think that'll be a lifetime, once in a lifetime type of event, and I would appreciate the ability to go. But if it's in any other time than April, I think that's going to be great. Or if it's in early April. Obviously, I can't go to Berlin because they did it, and it's in another country at the moment. But that's exciting. Yeah. Austin could be a nice Model 3 road trip. Absolutely. And the X does a nice job on the road trips as well. It's just you gotta watch it when it decides to do something twitchy. Today, there was snow in the lane, so it decided to not just abort a turn, but it decided to change lanes away from the turn as well. I was like, wait, where are you going? It did turn the signal on, but it did yank the wheel away from where we needed to go, so I turned it into where it needed to go. But it's not rated for snow, and who expects snow to be in the middle of your turn lane, like a wall of it? So I'm not going to fault what it did. Being a new pup, no. I haven't made any public announcements about anything yet. We'll get there. And let's see. Shell converts gas station into an EV charging hub. The oil giant already operates a network of 8,000 EV charge points in Europe. I don't know if they have any here in the States or Canada. All right, so this is coming from Evanex, EVNX. Where is this at? The whole disclaimer on their articles makes it hard to see where they start. All right, so in Europe and London. Okay, so they're just expanding their existing operations then. I say just, but it's huge. You got an oil company that calls himself an energy company that's actually doing something to deliver energy rather than just gas. And so this is similar to what we see here, where like we've got a Wawa that only serves electricity, and we've got a independent station that converted to electric as well, up in Tacoma Park. Cool. I'd play that, but it looks like it's got music. Let's see. It probably got music.
I guess I've always been quite creative.
Yeah, it's got music. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. It needs to be done. Alright, so next up... Yeah, exactly. Circle K have done this in Norway for months. But again, that's another oil company that's doing the right thing. Shell equals... Oh, that's right. They do own green lots here. So yeah, Shell's here. Especially all the way from New England. Absolutely. It's quite a trip. And Texas is big. Texas is... Ooh, I'm going to drive it, but... If I go, I'm going to drive it, but... My Model X is a 2018 and a half P100D, a 7-seat. So it was built in August of 18, and I got it in September of 18 because it went on a whirlwind tour of Alabama avoiding Hurricane Florence. So next up is Trevor. He's saying that Tesla is continually improving their cars. Model 3 has recently gotten a heated steering wheel, and now there's evidence of heated wipers, and potentially this, which would be the heated and cooled ventilated seats, which is cool. We just talked about that. Yeah, 2018. Okay, so we were talking about recalls last week for everybody, but especially Tesla. Drive Tesla Canada got their email from Tesla. They received it and have been notified that Model S owners have received theirs tonight as well. And here's a sample of his email for bringing in his Model... Well, not really bringing in his Model 3, but getting it dealt with. So they decided to proactively recall all the cars, including yours. On certain models, you could lose the display because of the excessive wear on the coaxial cable. No immediate action is required if you own a Model 3 affected. If you experience rear view camera display, you may continue to operate the vehicle by performing a shoulder check. Oh, I love the way that everybody, from the government to Tesla, is reiterating that this is not necessarily life or death. It is serious out of compliance, but it's not. If you're checking the vehicle before you get in, and then you're making sure it's clear before you back up, it doesn't have to be deadly. But if you don't, it could be really bad. Oh, okay, Ken got his too. Elon's throne supercharging. What's wrong with that? And this is one of the ultra fast chargers too, so I really don't see the problem with that. If anybody gets it, explain it to me. Alright, so now we get to the part where I ran out of articles preloaded, so let's bear with me while I click them back in. See, now if Dan was on, he could talk while I click these buttons. Alright. Hopefully the computer doesn't get mad at me opening all these at once while on the air. I hear it, the fans have kicked up. Which they don't need to because the water is fine. Alright, so now that all these are spinning... oh, this was a fun one. This was a real fun one. right, so last week, around the corner from me, there was a massive traffic jam that lasted more than 20 hours. And apparently there was another one on the West Coast, because you guys also had snow. And so they had a fact check from USA Today explaining that it was a mass exodus after highways reopened, not electric cars that caused their traffic jam. Ours was caused by a box truck that overturned and smashed into some other trucks, and then some more trucks hit that. And there was a local club member. She was in her Model Y. She lost 15% battery in the entire 20 hours of just chilling in the car, waiting for the traffic to open back up. She left work at 4 o'clock, and then she got back home sometime the next day. And 15% is nothing, because remember, electric car owners aren't sitting there waiting for the light to turn on before they plug it in like so many gas owners do. So less of us are likely to get caught out, even if we don't have home charging, because when you don't have home charging and you know it takes time to refill it, you're going to refill it when you've got time, rather than pushing it to the edge and then finding yourself, hey, I need to be here in 30 minutes and I need to charge for 15 or 20 minutes, so you're also more likely to be filled. And that was something that we found out with the studies with the Nissan Leaf versus the Chevy Volt, is the Nissan Leaf owners kept more in reserve just in case than the Volt owners, because they could just burn gas. And so the Volt owner was more likely to use more of their battery and get down to a lower charge level. Yeah, it was the next exit down from me. And it was a mess. Sean Mitchell tested his very old Model S for 24 hours in Colorado, and guess he could go 2 or 3 days without power and heating the car in camping mode. So I also, my wife and I, Luna, we took our Model X camping before camp mode existed. And so we had to do the trick where you put it in neutral, put the park brake on so you don't roll while you're asleep. Then you lock the door so that nobody mugs you while you're asleep. And our car went from something like 80% to 50%. It was well below freezing. It was it would have snowed if it rained. And this is on a Model X with no heat pump, and this was before camp mode existed. So the car was actually in a higher power level than it would be in a situation like this, because you would put it in park and you would just chill. And if you put it in park, in our case, it would have shut off. And so the car ran all night on less than 40% charge, and we were warm. It did cut the air halfway through, so I had to kick it back over, but that was fine. And I have no fear of being stuck in the cold in my car as long as it's less than a day. But even at a day, it will have enough to make me to a supercharger. And now that we have camp mode and everything, and I won't be rolling the whole time, this is not a fear of mine. Plus, you can turn it off. You can turn it off and then put your coat on, put a blanket on, but you don't have to do that. There were more cases of people running out of gas because they wait till the light's on. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I don't have time today. Because literally it takes a minimum of 7 minutes, unless you're at a special case like the on-highway road chargers for gas pumps for like the Toll Oasis. They run a little bit faster, and they tend to be set up more so that people can come in and go out. But as we saw in the 3-minute gas fill video that I made with Nevri, 7 minutes is not unreasonable. Plus, you got to get to the station, leave the station. That includes paying and filling, though. But it didn't include. It was assuming that you could magic yourself into the parking lot and out. Yeah, the Bolt has no camping mode, but we also camped in the Vault, and it works the same way. You put it in neutral, set the park brake, lock your doors, and it'll run for a long time. Yeah, we camped in the Vault. Why did we do that? I think it was a road trip, and we were running all night. We did some long road trips, and so rather than grab a hotel, we just grabbed a couple hours and just pop it in neutral, set the park brake, set the heater where we wanted, and then that one had the with the Volt was a little more dangerous to do it because you had to make sure you weren't in an enclosed area because it has a combustion engine, and if the charge got too low or if the temperature got too low, it would kick on the engine. And if you're in an enclosed space, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, all the other byproducts of combustion. So I don't really recommend it in the Volt if you're not being extra careful. But the Bolt with a B, like Bravo, is all electric, so that all those concerns go out the window. So you just got to worry about somebody breaking your window and robbing you while you're asleep. Used camping sub-zero Fahrenheit several times, never more than 15% in my long-range Model 3. And yours is pre-heat pump, right? Because I think that camp mode got rid of a lot of the stuff that we had running while the car thought we might just drive off at any minute. And so it was just a higher state of readiness and powered up than it would be today with camp mode. And the other thing I like about camp mode is it got that nice little display, and then after a few minutes that actually turns off so you can get some sleep. Yeah, 2018. Yeah, so we should probably retry that again at some point. But I don't really like the cold. We'll probably camp at some point. But we have camped in the summertime, and it uses just single-digit percentage points just to keep it cool and ready to go. I use the dog mode a lot more now that they changed the verbiage to my driver will be back soon. I'll leave Luna in the car and it said my driver will be back soon. She doesn't really care for when the screen turns off. If I leave it in climate mode on, she doesn't really. Well, plus there's a chance the Sentry could be on, but she doesn't really like it when the screen turns off because she's not sure if it's gonna do anything funny. Hoping GM makes the Jolt just to confuse people. Yes. I think whoever made that concept said that they could use it, so that would be awesome if they make the Jolt. And then, like you said, we'll have 3 different cars. Did you mean which one? Say it again. The Jolt with a J, like Juliet. All right, so that's a 3-minute article. Oh, well, we didn't want the news. Go back. Where did the? Okay, there we go.
Interstate 90.
Yes, this was the West Coast one.
Our second piece. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go to the on Friday, and here we go. What you're going to see is this toward Friday night into Saturday.
So is this a weather report, or is this guy talking about the traffic? Either way, they debunked it, and all of us owners have debunked it numerous times. So if you see anybody talking trash, just let them know that they're wrong. Yes, Eddie, heat uses way more power than AC, and that's why I was surprised how little it used while being completely ready to drive. Like if anything had bumped that gear shift up, and then also turned off the parking brake, the car would have drove away because we were in fully powered on mode. We weren't in camp mode. So all the pumps and cooling for the drivetrain and everything were just ready to go. And so yes, like I said, she was driving a Model Y and was in there for 20 hours or more. So Earl said, so sad this even needed a fact check. And Millen Usk has a really good point that says, you know that if there had been even a single disabled Tesla in the Virginia or Tahoe traffic jams this week, we would have heard about it over and over and over. And the fact that we haven't says a lot. I totally agree. So far, I've seen posts from 2 Tesla drivers who stayed warm, didn't emit CO2, and got home just fine with plenty of battery left. Plus the one I know in our local group. So that's at least 3. And then, on the same topic, we get another tweet from Simon101. In other news, it turns out that people with agendas are happy to lie brazenly to other people who will believe the lie and spread it just because it fits their agenda. Sad but true. It's on the same article that he's referring to. And then, just to finish it up, Trevor says, it started with a Facebook post. That explains a lot. Yes, it does. Facebook is they need some adjustment in the way they run their stuff. Society's doomed if people keep believing what they read on that platform. I mean, it's... There you go. That's a good point. That's what I was getting into right there, Stevie. Do you think the rest of Twitter is any better? That's true. It's a little different, but not a lot. And then they got right into it. That's exactly the sort of thing I was talking about. So let's see. This one came from one of my local groups, and the share came from a local group, and this GM-backed Pure Watercraft launches their first pontoon boat at CES. I like how they've got this circuit board design. It's also got a lot of QR codes on it too, as their wrap. So let's see what they have for specs on this thing. So the market is up from just 2.3 billion, 13 billion in 2021. They expect it to be 4.09 billion by 2028. I think we shared with you or was this before I started the show? A pontoon. No, that was on the Tesla Life. We shared with you folks who had converted a pontoon boat into a Tesla-powered pontoon boat, and that was pretty cool to see. So now you can buy one for the factory with a warranty. So that's pretty cool. So by Pure Watercraft. Then we've got this one, which left some concerns and questions, but the premise is good. A prototype battery powers a Model S for 752 miles on a single charge. This Michigan-based battery startup won, which we have seen Sandy Monroe work with them in some videos before. So they have a 207.3 kilowatt-hour pack they put in the same space as the original 103.9 kilowatt-hour battery. So knowing these details, that number makes a lot more sense. Because if you hypermile a 100 kilowatt-hour battery, you can get pretty good. And if it's a newer car, it's already rated for 400. And if you double its battery, 400 times 2, take away some for normal driving, 750 miles. This is good. So let's see what they have for price. They probably don't, because it's a prototype. What are they saying? They put it on a dynamometer for 55 miles an hour and ran it for 882 miles. Okay. Nobody's going to drive like that. But if you do the math and you take it back out, that's still pretty good. So 752 miles. They didn't even say prototype, they said experimental. Alright, let's take a look at this video and see what we can share about it, how long it is, and if it's got music. It's got some music. Yeah. Alright, so One Engineering, this is the same place that Sandy went to. To demonstrate what is possible, we built Gemini 001. It's a Tesla Model S body powered by One energy storage technology. Tomorrow we're going to take this thing 700 plus miles on a single charge. Did the road test. They do it in Michigan. 71 state of charge, and we'll be on the bridge in half an hour. Wow. Reaches the road test midpoint, 65% charge on the battery. In Detroit, it has 700 mile threshold. Okay, 700 miles. And what percent? Yes, you said a record. What's the percent? 10% remaining at 700 miles. That is incredible. No wind resistance. Exactly. The weight would go up. Absolutely. But the question, though, is if they're able to keep the weight similar, that would mean that they're using a new chemistry. Or is it still able to do ludicrous launches if they used a more energy dense but less power dense battery? Because that is part of your trade-off. But we'll see them going forward, and hopefully it's legit. But they're also the same folks who are doing the lithium-ion phosphate batteries for the Model 3. I don't know if they're the ones doing it for Tesla or not, but they had a Model 3 pack where they refilled the container with their phosphate batteries. So they're real. All right, so we talked about the Silverado. A new law in France will soon require automakers to include a disclaimer in their advertisements encouraging more energy-efficient transportation alternatives such as walking, biking, or public transit, which just makes sense. Because while electric cars are good, they don't reduce traffic. And so if you want traffic to go away, you have to... It's not easy, because nowhere in this country is set up for it, but the world is very car addicted. So in order to get people out of cars, it requires a lot of changes as far as like making it comfortable to get from place to place, as well as making it so that you physically can get from place to place. Like if you're going to walk or ride a bike, like in Texas, for instance, it's a lot harder to do. And in other places, you just don't necessarily feel safe to walk from place to place. So that article was in a local group, but it came from Electric. And so new law in France will do that. The three options are for short journeys, walk or cycle, think about carpooling, and take public transport. I mean, it is what it is. And encouraging people to do the right thing is good. They mix low cycle life cells that are high energy density with high cycle life cells. The idea is your daily commute would use the high cycle life, and your long range trips would use the other. So, did they do like a solid state drive where it like picks, or are they mixed in together? Because that wouldn't necessarily average them out. I'm curious. I'm going to have to open that article back up and see how they did that. Here's what I'll do. I'll open this article, and then I'll use that other one, so I can use the history page. Go to prototype battery. There we go. And I'll read that after the show. All right, so we've got some good news for the mega chargers. So Pepsi was saying for sure they were going to get their vehicle by the end of the year, and then they didn't for the Tesla Semi. But they're sure now they're going to get it sometime this month, to the point they've got the mega chargers getting installed. It looks like an urban supercharger, but really, really tall. That does a couple of things. It allows them to use a longer cable, and it makes the design distinctive, so that you'll know that this isn't my charger if you come up to it. It's like a Model 3. This is not my charger. And I'm curious, is that part of the wrapping, or is that wrapping the handle? Because if that's the handle, that's ginormous. And then there's the boxes. I don't know if those are the boxes for these pallets that have the mega chargers, the business end on them, or if they have the what I've been saying all along is that these are V3. No, here we go. We can see it kind of curved. So these are just more of these pedestals. All right, so that's in Modesto, and they've started. The Woodbridge Supercharger around the corner from me is almost done, and they have a bunch of like large spool reels in the middle, so that you don't try and use them. But looks like they're just waiting on approvals, is what it looks like. V3 baby, while you grocery shop. So you can see one mega charger out in the open, ready to be installed, with the two still in their packaging. And I think they said they were going to get 5 or 6. And here we can see all the electrical appears to be completed with 8 green line high efficiency transformer mega charger boxes and control breaker cabinets already installed. The large mega pack battery storage has also been installed. So I was about to say, that looks like a mega pack, not the chargers. So the charger right there, like I said, it looks exactly like a V3 supercharger. Then we've got the power conditioning, and we've got a mega pack. That will help because the trucks can bring down a lot of electricity at one time, so they can be ready. Yeah, I told you. I bet if you open it up, it's going to be very similar to a V3 supercharger with very minor differences. Just like a Model S and a Model X are very, very, very similar under the hood. Based on its configuration of the Nevada Megacharger, it looks like this one will have 4 stalls once they've been completed. Yeah, so instead of this each cabinet being shared by 4 cars, it would be one truck would get the whole output. Tesla's previously said megachargers will deliver peak rates of up to 1 megawatt, and what is becoming a familiar pattern, they seem to have sandbagged that estimate. Really? 1.5 megawatts. Wow. You're going to need a mega pack for that, because you turn that thing on and the lights will dim in the whole block. Delivering that much power generates a lot of heat, so in order to keep this thing manageable, they'll use new immersion cooling technologies. Like I said, the minor differences. There we go. Exact details which couldn't be shared at this time. So, Drive Tesla Canada has some sources, man. PepsiCo semi-deliveries. So, same article here. Press release in March of 21 saying they were going to be taking delivery of 15 before the end of the year. Then in November, they reiterated the position, and Tesla said it had been delayed till 2023 because of supplies. And after receiving these photos, we were able to confirm at one of our sources that Pepsi has been told to expect to receive all 15 semis by the end of January. So this sounds like it's coming from Tesla to Pepsi rather than Pepsi just telling the world about it. That is cool. And so we've seen in Drive Tesla Canada and other articles, we've seen some of the semis being tested near Nevada, near the Nevada Gigafactory without any of the markings that indicate they belong to Tesla. So this is a good sign, and we're about to see them on the roads in California. All right, so we talked about the prototype battery. We talked about just now about the 15 semis. Talked about the Chevy Equinox. All right, so this one, let's go back to Stellantis again. So Motoria says Ram all-electric truck will be last. And they're wondering if that's a bad thing. Pressure is on for Stellantis once again finds itself on the wrong side of a hot industry trend, this time all-electric full-size pickup trucks. Out of major manufacturers, Ford jumped out first, Chevrolet, and Silverado. But if you consider Tesla to be a major manufacturer, they were out there as well. And to say they're not is not cutting them enough slack. To say they're not is not cutting them enough slack. Echo.
Sorry about the echo. How you doing, Casey?
Doing well. How you doing?
Pretty good. Happy New Year. This is the first time I talk to you all year.
It is. It's the first time this year. Happy New Year. You got any earbuds?
Yeah. Hold on. Give me a sec.
All right. All right. So we'll get back with Omar in just a moment. But so this op-ed now is claiming that does it matter that Ram is last? And I say yes, it does, because with the position that Stellantis finds themselves in, not being able to compete either in the mindshare of folks who realize electric trucks are better, or regulatory wise with folks that are requiring you to sell only electrics. You can't do business if they don't want to buy your stuff, or if it's illegal for them to buy your stuff. So you're going to go the way of the dinosaurs if you don't have a product to sell. Just like we were talking about the 2 cars coming out of the Chrysler brand. 2 is better than none, but you're gonna need a little bit of variety if you're gonna keep it up. So what do y'all think about that? Do they stand a chance if they don't get with the program? And then we've got a Tesla Mega Pack in Austin, 200 megawatt hours. Dan's here too. The 200 megawatt hour Mega Pack is in Angleton is ready for the next big freeze. or heat or anything that makes the Texas grid extra unstable. So that's good. Look at this. It's massive, and they have room to grow.
Are we better now with the Echo?
Check, check, 1, 2. Yes.
All right.
All right.
Welcome back.
Go.
Yeah. People reserve. Yeah, exactly. So if you don't have it, then they can't buy it either. They need to at least be there. I agree. Like you don't stand a chance if you don't have anything to offer. So at least with Chrysler, you've got the van and the CUV. But anybody who needs a pickup truck isn't going to try to do it in a van or an EUV unless that's all they have and they can't make a purchase. Like, say, nobody's making cars, or they don't have the purchasing power to go and change the vehicle. But if you need a truck, it would be better to have a truck available than to try and work something out with what you already have. Which means that when they go to get their new car or new truck, they're going to get it from Tesla, GM, Ford, and Chrysler will just be out the window, no matter how comfortable the Ram is. Especially if it's a matter of they know that EV is the way they want to go, or they're in a jurisdiction where selling non-EVs is illegal. All right, so I promised Ford all day. Go ahead.
I mean, all the manufacturers are being forced to go EV, so it's you either go EV or you die. That's how it's going to
Tesla eating
go.
their lunch.
Yep.
And now Rivian successfully giving us a few cars on the road that we were spotting.
Yeah, and I don't know if I called this one out or not, so I'm just going to say it now. Rivian has committed to focusing on growth over profit for the time being. So they want to make sure that they can actually get the vehicles out there, which I think is the right way to handle it.
They better be with the new Georgia plant they're trying to open. They're going to open.
Well, they're opening, 4 plants?
Yeah, and if they want to make a fool out of Elon, they better start producing.
Well, he didn't say they couldn't do it. He just said, I've done this. It's hard. Maybe you should learn from my mistakes instead of making them all over again.
Yep.
Now, he might have insinuated, but not in that same message. That same message, he was being genuine.
Because that's all he wants is more vehicles on the road.
Right. I think that hardcore truckers will be slow to change, even though electric is much better. So there's going to be 2 sides to this. The hardcore truckers of like professional truck drivers, semi-trucks, they're going to go fast because anybody who does their money will see that this is the right way to go, because 7 cents per kilowatt hour or less for the Tesla semi or the competitors. Your maintenance is down, and on the semi, you're less likely to be down for a windshield, and the fact that you can tow at speed and still get there on time, that's going to be a game changer. Because right now, if you do any work in the mountains, you have a limited amount of hours you can work. I mean, the hours are regardless, but the mountains slow you down because you're doing 30 when you could be doing 60 or 55, depending on where you're at. And so you're running at half speed, which means you're getting half the distance you could get in that time. Whereas if you're in an EV
time
truck,
is money.
Exactly, time is money, and the clock is ticking. This is the point where if you've seen the trucks, the flashers come on and they slow down and they pull over the side of the road. Some of them is because their company is just so aggressive with the clock to make sure they don't have a violation that they just shut the truck down no matter where it is. So if you see a truck shut down in the middle of the road and it does nothing that appears to be wrong with it, sometimes that is the case. They've just been, it's like, hey, that was the 5-minute warning 5 minutes ago. You're done. And so they got to coast to the side of the road. Other times, it could be an engine failure or other stuff, but that is a legit thing.
The EV semis are going to be more reliable, and you're going to have less downtime.
Yeah.
And having less downtime is humongous in the trucking industry.
Yeah, because if you don't bring the stuff, you don't get paid. And if you're too slow to bring the stuff, you don't haul as much stuff as you need, and you don't make the bills. So...
Right.
This is real stuff right here.
And just just not having the downtime for maintenance is huge.
Right.
You need the truck on the road to make money.
Exactly. Yeah. Now the folks that you're talking about, like my wife calls their vehicles, she calls them jungle trucks. They are another story, but all it's going to take is one to get that first EV truck, and then to to just, do the treatments, make them the way they like them, either with the Carolina Squat or just big mud tires, or the ginormous American flag or others. And then, when they start running circles around their friends are going to, feel impotent and then go replace their trucks as well. Or if they can't afford to, then they'll start saying about why, oh, that's trash. Nobody wants that. And then you'll know that they can't afford a truck. But it's going to happen. It's like you said, it's not going to be quick. But once it does start with that particular group, it's going to be practically overnight. Social proof.
It's going to go fast. It's going to go slow, and then it's going to go real fast.
Yeah. Well, just like we saw with EVs. I mean, how long were they under 2%? And now we're sitting at, 3%? And accelerating.
The biggest slowdown for EVs, the thing that's going to take the most amount of time, is how many can they produce. I think the more that get on the road, the more demand is going to be for them. People are going to want them. But it's just how many vehicles can they produce per year? That's going to be the number of vehicles that they'll be able to be replacing these gas vehicles with.
Exactly. I mean, just like we see with every time somebody's talking bad about Tesla, you sit them in the seat, and next thing you know, they're driving a Tesla, or they've got the Mach-E after they drove a Tesla, or they got got in line for the Lucid. The experience on an EV is just phenomenal, and once you experience it, then it happens. Because a lot of times the folks are bashing, like we saw with the train versus a boring company. They have never experienced it. And so they say, oh, this will never work, it's blah, blah, blah. Or as we saw with the EVs in the snow, oh, well, you use more electric to run the heater, so you're going to get stuck. And then, no. And then once they try it, their tone completely changes. Green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am.
Well, you know what? People in general are afraid to change. They're doing something different. So once you eliminate all the excuses that they come up with, oh, well, it takes too long to charge, it's not going to have enough range, it's this and that and the other. Once you eliminate all these excuses, and then it's like, okay, well, I'll give it a try and see, or, well, I see what you got there. Then they start thinking, man, this is really nice. Actually, this is better. Oh, you know what? I need to get one of those.
This is my idea. You copied me. You just got there first. All right, so like I said, I've been saying this one all day. The worst problem is the Tesla backlog. People hate waiting. Absolutely, my friend is 6 months for his Model Y. Omar, you were in line for your Model Y for what? 8 months? 6?
Mine was
5?
3 months.
3 months. Okay.
3 months. Yeah. What's funny is
you were talking about it for 6 months.
That line has gotten longer and longer and longer.
Yeah.
Because I put my order in May, I believe. April, I think, and I got it in July.
Wow.
So, but that line has gotten longer. So
it
now
has.
you put in an order, it's like 8 months, 7 months, whatever it is, and it's brutal. However, that's going to get better with the additional factories that they're
Berlin
coming online. Texas and Berlin. And that goes right back to what I was saying earlier, which is the biggest issue they're going to have is how many vehicles can they produce.
Yeah.
The more vehicles they can produce, the faster they can produce them, the more people are going to be driving them. Period.
Yeah, I suspect that we're going to see Berlin and Texas start out fairly slow, maybe a couple hundred cars in a week, and probably a couple dozen cars in a week the first week or two. And then, if all goes well, I suspect what we're going to actually see is that they're going to turn it all the way on. Like, we won't understand what happened. We'll just be spinning. They'll go from, 200 cars in a month to 2,000 cars in a week. It'll just be... We won't know what hit us. And then the prices will come back down to where they promised us, and we'll all be good. The question, though, I think it'll be easier for them to do this at Austin once they get their operating permit in Austin. I have a feeling that in Berlin that we're not done seeing people find roadblocks for them to hit, throw monkey wrenches and stuff. So I have a feeling that they'll get there with Berlin, and they'll be ready. And then all of a sudden, we have to look at this endangered moth, and I don't know. Just something's going to happen in Berlin. It's mark my words. Welcome back, Anders.
Well, welcome back. Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing. Mass producing, and you know what, the 4680 cells is going to help as well,
Yeah.
because those cells, with them being, once they get that mass producing, they're going to be able to make those faster than the other ones. They're going to have better energy density and everything. And what they'll be able to do is put less cells into each vehicle, and then by doing so, you'll have um, you'll be able to make more Model Ys with the same number of cells.
Yeah,
So then they can make the vehicles faster.
absolutely. Oh, wow. This guy's got a lot of stuff here. So I was actually in it for one article, but we got three. All right, so I've been talking all day about Ford. So let's actually get to it. We're going to do it in a little bit different order than I had planned because this guy just got interesting looking Twitter. So a minute ago, they tweeted the F-150 Lightning reveal generated more Twitter buzz than the Silverado EV. Blue is F-150, gray is the Chevy Silverado. So you can kind of see where, too, it's Ford versus Chevy. That's interesting. Let's click into it. So apparently I'm in Chevy country. Based on geotag Twitter data during reveal dates, which EV generated more buzz by state.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so you're in Chevy land too.
I'm in Chevy. Yeah, I'm in Chevy territory, I guess.
But just up the road, the Tesla club I'm in, they're in Ford country.
That's
And my house is
interesting.
in Chevy country.
I would have thought that the Ford would have just had more buzz, period, since
Yes.
they were the ones I've been seeing, advertising and the big reveal and all that, and they're supposed to be coming out this year with them.
But that 39 versus the 40 makes a difference.
I guess.
Scheduling and job number one production date is for 2022 for the F-150 Lightning. There we go. I wonder what they're hiding back there.
Right?
All right, so this is why I was actually in this person's Twitter. Where does this go? Let me see real quick. Oh, well, it was removed at Ford's request at the link. But Ford warns dealers against additional deposit reservation requirements for 2022 F-150 Lightning orders. Supports no resale provisions in purchase contracts. So, let's look at this real quick here. See if it tells us more. Action request to review the following message. It's come to our attention that a limited number of dealerships are interacting with customers in a manner that negatively impacts customer satisfaction and is damaging to the Ford Motor Company brand and dealer body reputation. Examples of these negative interactions include demanding that customers who are already on reservation for the 2022 Lightning make additional deposits or payments. These actions are perceived as threatening customers by withholding their opportunity to convert reservations to orders. This behavior is not allowable under paragraph 6 of the Sales and Service Agreement. Paragraph 6 states that the dealer... how do I make this hearts and stuff go away? The dealership operations in a manner that will reflect favorably at all times on the reputation of the dealer, company, authorized dealers, company products, trademarks, and names claimed by the company and its subsidiaries. This is big because, as we saw last week when I was ranting, there have been some serious missteps, including threatening that your order would be canceled if you didn't play ball with some of these folks that are asking you for extra money to get your truck. And they would tell Ford, "Oh yeah, Casey doesn't want his Lightning, he canceled it." And in reality, I just didn't want to pay the extra $30,000 that the one around the corner was trying to charge. And so, at that point, I would take my reservation and move it somewhere else. But when they told Ford I canceled it, who's Ford going to trust? Some random dude or is this dealer they've got an agreement with?
Right, and then you're stuck at the back of the line.
I got to get back in the line again. And this time I got to make sure, don't pick Coons Ford. And now to say, they said that they made it an error and they won't be doing that. The error was that they got caught. But they say they're not doing it now. Buyer beware.
The error was that, this was a bad idea, and we got called out on it. That was the error.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's not legal in most states because of what they did. So 100 years ago, they set themselves up in a dangerous place because they wanted all their cars to sell from the factory and have 100% sales. Dealers did that for them. But now, 100 years later, dealers are also making a mess of things for them. This isn't just the Mach-E, and it's not just the Lightning. It's also the Bronco. People are being greedy. And so, let me switch views here. The Detroit Free Press went into it, as well as a couple
Any
others.
vehicle that's in high demand and there's low supply, and you have a middleman involved, they're going to get greedy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the Detroit Free Press also picked up on it. And the other thing they were going to do to help is we saw in the last 2 years with the everything. Everything's on sale. You can't get a hold of sneakers. You can't get a hold of computer parts. You can't get a hold of the Digum Xbox One and PlayStation 5. And I mean, those are just really easy first world examples. But we're finding, like, back when masks became, when they told us they didn't need masks, and then they told us we did need masks, that they were hard to find. Hand sanitizer was hard to find. Toilet paper during the first week of all this. So what they're doing is they're going to try and combat the scalpers. They're requesting that these dealerships put into their sale provisions that they have a no resale clause. So that way, somebody doesn't go and buy a fleet of F-150 Lightnings and then flip them for double the price. I mean, I understand a used car with private party, one or two. I mean, if you're doing it at that level, are you buying one or two? And you find a customer, fine. That's between you two. But at the dealer level, or if you are making it so that you've bought all the stock in your local area, you've bought all the F-150s, and now nobody can get one at a real price, and you're just sitting on them so you can make extra money. That's not cool. So. It looks like Ford has finally, made some moves rather than just saying, "Hey, we're demanding they require, if you ordered by this date that you're good." And then we saw last week where he said, "Oh, well, make sure you get it in writing." So some of the things they're threatening are reducing allocation, which is a huge way to punish dealers. I've worked, like I said, at several dealerships, and if they don't send you your best selling car, now they've hit you in the wallet. You can't sell as many cars if you can't get people in the door and then switch them to another car, or get them in the door to get what they want. Or they can do something like, hey, this most popular car is in citrus orange with automatic windows and automatic transmission. Hey, we've given you the 2-speed manual with pink. Good luck. So now you so now you got to trade your pink cars for the yellow cars, and the other dealership, they might say, all right, yeah, we'll give you a blue one for the pink one. Or, you really want the yellow one? Yellow is the only one that works? Okay, good. We got one yellow one. How about you give us that pink one, and also 2 trucks and an SUV and a car, and you can have this yellow one. And then you get the yellow one and you've sold it, but it cost you so much. So this is legit, and I don't think that what we see in the news is all that they're doing, because once they start threatening you that way, that's pretty strong. And then I think what they'll probably do is rather than threaten them with allocation if they don't put the anti-sale clause in, I think what they'll do is say something like, "Hey, we'll give you an extra 2 F-150s a month if you put in Lightnings, because the extra 2 regular F-150s is nothing. But we'll give you 2 extra Lightnings in a month if you put in this anti-sale clause for your customers." So then it's not really a fight. Then the only person they're fighting with then is the customer, end user, and Ford, not the dealers and Ford, because they got their extra Lightnings, and so they can, if you sell the Lightning at sticker, you're gonna make some money, and if you can get 2 extra monies, why not? I know that sounded weird, but whatever that some money is, you get 2x it. It's probably not just 2, but
I mean, one of the big things they have to curtail as well is not just the anti-resale clause, but the gouging.
Yes, and so that gets both.
Are gouging like crazy right now with low inventory, and that's it's not just electric cars. That's just across the board.
Oh yeah, and so used cars is different, and I understand the used cars, but that's fine. But with the new cars, I think it's unethical, and so I think that if Ford did a good job and they ran this through their lawyers and they did it properly, we're gonna see some dealers sue them, and we're gonna see some end users sue them. But I think they'll come out victorious, and it will be. David said, "Endangered moth," sponsored by BMW. Over at the Giga Berlin. So I think that if they did this right, I think that we'll see that they come out ahead in these lawsuits or challenges or whatever else happens. You'll get a couple of the scalpers who say, "Oh well, I wanted to get 10 F-150s and sell them. I've got the money. Let me do it." You will find somebody who gets an F-150 and then finds they're going to have quadruplets. Okay, maybe now the truck doesn't work for them, but typically these anti-sale clauses will allow you to come back and trade the car in with the dealer for a minivan or whatever. Not necessarily a minivan. You get an Explorer or whatever, but typically they do have an out for substantial changes in situation, like you lose your job or your family size changes or you whatever. Typically at that point they've written it in there that you can then bring it back to the dealer, trade it in, or sell it, and they will release you. And then, of course, the dealer can do whatever. But what they want is to stop the scalpers. And I think this is the best way to do it. Because now if they scalp it, they can take you to court. And they will own it. Because the scalping has gotten out of control. We saw graphics cards, for instance. Robert and I have been talking about graphics cards for a while now. And you've got a $300 graphics card selling for $900. You got a $900 graphics card selling for $3,000.
Yep. But that's because people are hoarding those graphic cards. Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with actually crypto mining.
Yeah.
But then if people aren't,
but at least they're using it. But the people who are buying 20 of them and selling them all,
crypto mining, are buying what's left over and saying, "I got my hands on one of these. This is gold."
Yeah.
How much you want to give me for it? I don't really need it myself. I'm not building a gaming rig. I just want to.
Right. Right. And if somebody buys one or two and does that and they get the money, I'm cool. But when you buy a whole crate of them and now my store can't get one so that I can buy one at a normal price, that's unethical. It's about, because I totally understand, like if one, somebody buys one or two, that's fine. That's fine. But we're not out of stock because everybody bought one or two. We're out of stock because some people bought 20. Now, if like I said, if you bought 20 and you crypto mined with them, sucks to be behind you in line, but you're using them. You're not out there just to get all in my pocket. So that's where I'm at. So what do you guys think about Ford and this situation? Did they make the right call? Should they have done it differently? Obviously, it should have never happened in the first place, but because of the way the dealer protection laws are set up, there's not a lot they can do, and this, I think, will be a very effective method to do something about it.
Well, they had to do something, right?
Yeah.
So doing something's better than doing nothing about it and ignoring it and pretending like the problem doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, I got to give them credit for that. They're at least trying to address the issue. Definitely.
So, Omar, you had a car that did practically this. A legendary Tesla Model S high mileage road warrior is going for its 1 millionth mile.
Nice.
Yours is in the six figures, right?
It's in the six figures, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of folks, one of their concerns with the newness of the electric cars is, will it last? Yes, it will. There's less to break. That's not to say that everything is perfect, because we saw the way that Tesla was handling stuff in the beginning was, new motors all around. But it's not necessarily that the motor was broken. You needed a 2-cent shim, but to put the 2-cent shim in was a 10-hour job, and to just swap your motor out under warranty was a 2-hour job. Then they can just have an assembly line to take them all down, put the part in, and put them back together for less time. So I get why they did it. Good call. Ford don't want their early Premier EV to fail because of dealer scalping. I agree. Thank you very much.
And I don't think their EV would have failed because of dealer scalping, because people are still it's going to be high enough demand. People are going to want them. They're going to buy them. The problem is it put a nasty taste in people's mouths, and they're going to steer away from their brand. And word of mouth is very strong, so it would kill a lot of their other sales.
Yeah.
And really damage their reputation. And then going forward with future sales, it'd be a problem.
Yeah. Plus, when the supply stabilizes, and they can get a Silverado, they can get a Ford, they can get a Cybertruck, all at the same price. That automatically moves you to the back of the line because they remember what you tried to do to them when they tried to buy a truck 6 months ago.
Exactly.
Or last time. Yeah. Yeah,
Which
so
I
we'll
don't think supply is going to stabilize for
not for a minute.
It's going to be a couple years. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But then that goes back to that same point though. Say you do finally get yourself in line. You get one. You get the Ford. Or you get the you get the Chevy, or you get the Cybertruck, and now it's time to replace that truck. And you remember how Ford you're going to say how Ford treated you, but it was really Coons Ford, or they're right around the corner. They're going to be so pissed at me if they figure out who I am. They started
Joe Blow. It's actually the Joe Blow dealership up the street. It's not.
No, they did it. That was their email. They made an error, but say I'm coming back and I remember their error. I'm not. But I'm not going to remember it was Coons Ford. I'm going to say Ford tried to screw me. I'm not going to say.
Right.
Mr. Coons tried to scare me. I'm going to say, screw me. I'm going to say Ford tried to screw me. That's how consumers think. They see the blue oval. That's all they see. His name is in text. He doesn't have a logo. Well, I think he has a crown, but still.
But and even then, even sooner than you having to replace your vehicle, just word of mouth of your friends on the vehicle.
Hey, I'm looking for a truck. Which one do you recommend?
Don't do what I did. Don't get the Ford. They screw you over. Go get a different one. Go get that Cybertruck, or go get the Chevy, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, They don't want that.
Exactly, and that's a good way to avoid some of that smoke. So I think we're going to see more of these high miles. I mean, like I said, we see every month we see a new Tesla hit some sort of milestone, and now that the other cars are getting older, we'll start to see more of them as well. We've seen Chevy Volts with 300, 500,000 miles on them, easy. But they have that combustion engine, so that tends to increase their maintenance. We've seen some BMW i3s with incredible stats as well. And Leafs. We've seen tons of Leafs with 3-4 battery packs that have gone hundreds of thousands of miles. That's not a problem of EVs. That's a problem of Nissan didn't bother to cool their battery pack.
Yeah, that was a thermal management problem.
Yeah, it was an engineering problem. But the rest of the car, as we said, it survived and it kept on going. So. As impressive as the older first-generation S's are, the new ones have improved dramatically, especially the battery and motor tech. Absolutely. Yeah, a million miles would be common. I agree.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to this one. This one came from one of our groups. And... Okay, so
By the way, my Model Y did pretty well in the snow.
Excellent.
We got dumped on.
Yes.
Last Monday, it was ridiculous. We got like 14 inches of snow, and it was 63 degrees the day before. So
yeah, ours was 70 plus.
We're going from like 65-degree weather, which is pretty
T-shirts
warm
to parkas
for winter. Right?
Yes.
14 inches of snow the next day. Bam, there you go. So
yeah,
that was crazy. But overall, my car did very well in the snow. Especially considering I have these tires are not the best tires for that are on my car. The factory tires that they ship with, not the best for snow.
No, not at all.
There are definitely some better ones out there, which I may consider later on when it's time to replace them. But for now, they're fine because it did pretty well. Yeah,
these ones on the X did okay. I felt that the ones on the S were a little better. But both of them all-weather tires. They're all-weather. Don't get some snow tires. So what I'm going to consider next for mine, this is not sponsored or anything. I'm considering the Cross Climate SUV for mine. And if you got something that works with the Cross Climate 2s, go for those. They're all year snow tires, so they're not all seasons. They're snow tires with the certification. So you can, as long as they don't require chains, you can go. If the snow tires only, you can go up the mountain, and the police won't stop you. They'll stop you. Say, what the hell? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Well, see, those were the ones I was looking at getting for my next tire when it's time to replace them. Get
right.
Those cross climates, because
they're at fair price.
Tires
and
are
if they,
expensive, so I'm not just replacing them for no reason.
Right. If they perform as well as they say, then that will be my next tire. But I'll have to try it and find out, because they'll say it's good, and then I get my 6,000-pound bus up on there, and ooh, these are sloppy. I don't know. I don't know.
They might kill your range, though.
They might. That's the other thing I'm going to watch out for.
They might provide you good grip, but then they kill your range. So then, you get snow. We get snow what, a couple months a year, maybe 3 months out the year, and then the rest of the time you don't need it. So then
if it's real bad on the range, what I'll do is I'll end up taking them off and then switching them in the wintertime, just like they do in Canada. But it's getting cold enough, and the weather is just so. I'd rather be safe than sorry.
That's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to avoid having to swap them. Summer, winter, swap the tires.
But if I can find an extra set of Model X wheels, well, I can get them from Tesla for $5,000, wheels and tires.
Yeah, they'll sell you anything for the right money.
Well, I'm thinking, a nice set of wheels would be more than that, and then you add tires to it. So what I'm saying is sometimes Tesla has priced things reasonably for the market. Other times they're like, hey. You want the Tesla T on that, don't you?
You want a silly little whistle? $50.
$50. You want a belt buckle? $300. I don't remember how much it cost. It was a lot. All right. We've got another fun one. We've talked about electric fire trucks on here before, but now we've got one deploying in the U.S. I think we've seen them before, like airports or something. This is the first one that might come to your house if you need it. So in Rancho Cucamonga, they get the first electric fire trucks in North America for this type of duty. I like it. Because when you look at all the idling they do, and the fact that even the diesel trucks...
They're really the first. I feel like that's something that should already be a thing.
Right. I think we've done this before. So what I'm thinking is that they might be the first in first responder... and then obviously all fire trucks are first responder, but I think they might be the first on the streets. All the others we've seen are probably airports and stuff.
Or maybe it's the first one of that brand. Maybe, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It feels like we've done this a little bit before, but this what feels different about this one is that they will come to your house if necessary, and the fact that that they're always plugged in, even the diesel ones are always plugged in when they're at the station is. It's perfect for them. And look at all the idling they do, and then the fact that that they can be a lot more silent other than the siren, and no fumes, so they're not endangering your life and life of your neighbors, and especially those of the people who have to work around them all day long with the firefighters. They're not breathing in noxious fumes other than from the burning structure.
It helps for the inner city areas where it's a lot more condensed, anyways.
Yeah, let's see what they have for range on this thing. The new station is set to open in 2023. Maybe that's what's new, is it's all electric rather than
some electric.
Than adding one to the fleet. It's only 900,000, which sounds like a lot, but for a fire truck, that's reasonable.
For a fire truck, they're usually $1 million.
Yep, plus. Right there, under 1.3.
Yeah, they're usually $1 million plus.
Yeah. So. Let's see. I'm gonna type the word miles.
That would explain what happened with my uncle back in the 90s, 2000s.
Yep. 2 built-in batteries can recharge quickly. The built-in range extender, the small diesel engine, powers the large generator, allows for the truck to extend its electrical range and pumping in operations. The trucks will have a 33-gallon diesel tank. And
so it's a hybrid.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. But it's the serial hybrid, like the Volt.
Well, it's a range extender like the i3. So.
Yeah, like the i3. That's a better choice.
So hopefully that diesel engine will not be used.
Right, but it's there if you need it. So during their test, they pumped on electric only for over an hour, drawing water from canals without any range extender kicking in, and that's good because there are some big fires, and you want them to be able to handle those and not have to think about it. But the typical fire, like, hey, there's a car on fire, hey, there's a house on fire. They're in and out in like 30, 40
Typical
minutes.
fire, they knock
gone.
them down
Yeah.
fairly quickly. Yeah.
So it looks like this is sized appropriately for the job. But I the headline just totally doesn't say that it's a plug-in hybrid. But that's probably also how they're able to save some of that money, because something this big, you would need a bigger battery to do what they need, and that would probably put them back in the regular price range.
Yeah, there is a balance between, with the size of the battery and price and all that.
Yeah.
So I get it. But it's good. It's good that they're going electric. So at least they, that'll be less diesel being used.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's good for the air. It's good for everybody that's normally around these things all day long. All right, so this one is what I was talking about earlier. The Rivian chief financial officer is saying that that they will prioritize growth over profits, which is good. And,
is that why the stock price dropped?
Probably. So
that and the Amazon hit.
So if you're if you're a long-term investor, then this will be good for you. If you're hoping to flip the stock, then yeah, you probably just wanted to dip out right before he said this. But if you believe that Rivian's going to do what their mission is and what they say they're going to do, then this is perfect. Because once you have more customers out there, more cars, more trucks, it's just like we talked about with Ford. People are going to talk about it. Hey, I on my phone, boop, 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 I ordered this thing and it showed up a year later. Hey.
That's definitely the correct long-term strategy.
Yeah. That's what I feel. All right, let's see here. Yeah. What's that? Oh, I talked about the Vision Auto part. I'll get the video on that soon. And what else happened? The beta drives
did a
okay.
custom light show on my Tesla.
Oh, you did? How'd you like it?
That is so tedious. I just think for now on, just download them.
Yeah.
Just download ones that people already did.
I looked at the sample and I was like, yeah, that's not for me. Aside from,
way too
having a legacy car.
complicated.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I finally had a chance to do the light show. People were asking me, does the car fly away? And I was like, oh, sounds like somebody's asking for a light show. So I did the light show, and it is exactly like it has been for the last couple of years. So legacy cars, you didn't remove your light show, but you didn't get the new music either.
Oh, you didn't get the new? It was just the same?
Exactly the same as it always has been. And thankfully it worked because it was cold. So like normally what would happen, it'd be hot and my car is black, and it was just the end of where they'd fixed the sensors. So sometimes it works when it's hot, and sometimes it thinks that there's somebody standing next to the door when it's hot, and so it just aborts. And as I was saying, I don't understand why we can't roll our windows back up. After it did the light show, it rolled all the windows back up. It had rolled them all down, and then it put them all back up. Come on, Tesla, stop screwing with us. I understand it's not easy. I understand maybe you don't want to put the man hours into it. Say, hey, we'll think about this later. There's nothing stopping you except we got to write the code. Yeah, that's going to have more people say, hey, write the code, hey, write the code. But at least then, you don't have people who know better feeling like you lied to them. I know that my FSD computer is the same as on the Model 3 and the Model Y, so why can't I have my remote viewing with the same app? I'm still salty about that.
Viewing?
No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I totally understand that they might have had to put more time into figuring out my blind spot, but the remote viewing, it's the same app, same computer. Come on, guys. All right, so before I get into salty mode again, I'll catch you guys on the flip side next week. There we go. That was good.
Cool.
Close.
Glad I was able to jump in before it was too
Me
late.
too. Yes.